between ketosis and intermittent fasting, and which diet is for whom?
So there's a question, and I'm not a diet expert, but I've experienced benefits of focusing on intermittent fasting and also considering ketosis and essentially keeping your carbohydrate very, very low. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this video. This is by Thomas DeLauer. It's a great YouTube channel. I recommend finding him, whereas Thomas DeLauer is his name. So you can check him out. I subscribe. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. I also really like Dr. Eric Berg. I think it was actually, and shout out to our favorite Kiwi, Enlightened Kiwi. God love you, Lawrence. You're awesome. Your videos are so inspirational. I know a lot of us are inspired by them. I'm a few years behind you, and your most recent video on the 50, things that change when you're 50, just helped me to understand what I can look forward to and what I'm starting to experience. So bless you, my friend. So keto is the idea is to limit your carbohydrates so that your body is fueled on ketones versus using carbs versus glucose. And so I'm just going to give just a quick summary of what I've found. So now we've gone through the breathing, we've gone through walking, exercising. I did a little review on the Utimi sex toy. Talked about earthing a little bit. So now fueling yourself. So we talked, going from the fundamentals. You got to breathe, you got to move, you got to fuel yourself. So how do you do it? Well, generally speaking, most of us are not designed to eat a lot of carbohydrates. Human beings we're not meant to graze, and blessings to the vegans and vegetarians out there. That's a smaller subset of what most humans. We're omnivores. There's very few people who can live healthfully and to live healthy lives on simply a vegetarian lifestyle. I've tried veganism for myself and vegetarianism. It did not work for me. I was miserable. My brain was just feeling like it was atrophying. I wasn't getting enough fat. I wasn't getting the type of proteins that my body needed. So that's what I found. I'm also blood type O, and I would recommend checking out the blood type diet, which is Eat Right for Your Type. Find out your blood type and make use of that information, because there's food recommendations in there. It's Dr. D'Adamo. He's a naturopath, ND, and his father was also an ND. So this is Dr. D'Adamo younger. And then a lot of good information in there, a lot of useful information. So ketosis is essentially making your body run on ketones, which are proteins, which is essentially proteins. And that helps the brain to be better fueled. It helps the brain to work more efficiently. And this Dr. Thomas DeLauer, he talks about this in this video. He says that when you're in ketosis, your body's creating more GABA aminobutylated acid, I think, and it essentially reduces anxiety and it promotes calmness. So he says ketones help fuel the brain more efficiently than glucose. Also, ketones promote anti-aging and help increase the amount of mitochondria in a cell. And mitochondrial activity is what helps to burn fat and essentially helps your brain and your cells to work more efficiently. So as he says, ketosis is health promoting. Generally, that's how he suggests it, where you're limiting your carbohydrates pretty significantly to maybe 30 or 50 grams a day, versus fasting. Intermittent fasting prompts regeneration. And you can do both. I mean, you can do ketosis and intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting has to do with you're having meals in a shorter period of time. Essentially, you have, say, a meal at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Hopefully not 9 o'clock, but say 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then you wait at least 12 to, say, 14 hours before you have your next meal, before you break your fast. And that's what intermittent fasting refers to. So your eating windows are more narrow. You're, say, having a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour feeding session. Now, intermittent fasting specifically doesn't say what are you eating. It just says this is the time constraints of when you're fasting versus when you're eating, when you're feeding yourself. So you can intermittent fast and break it with carbs and whatever you might like. So it doesn't mean that you're necessarily maintaining ketosis. Generally, it seems like intermittent fasting can be good for those who aren't doing hardcore weightlifting. If you do it once a week, where you have like at least a 16-hour fast, maybe even a full 24-hour fast. And he talks about that, I believe, in this video. if not other videos as well. And actually, this is where he says here in this other video down at the bottom is ketosis and fasting. Why they are so effective together. So some really good viewing here. I've been doing, as I've started to do more exercise, and I tend to like to work out in the mornings or kind of early afternoon. So I'll do a fast from 8 or 9 o'clock till about noon, 1, 2. I'll work out, do my exercise, some cardio, some weights, or I'll just go climbing for like 2-3 hours, kind of nice, leisurely, but fairly intense, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic is the cardio, light cardio, elliptical machine, and then aerobic of more endurance, muscle, mostly climbing. I just really like to do climb, and then I'll eat, and then I'll do my best to eat within about an 8-hour window. Say if I eat around 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, then I want to be done by 6 or 7 again. Again, it's more of a guideline for me. So as he says, ketosis is maybe good for someone a little bit younger who wants to protect their health in the future so that you don't start to develop, high blood sugar from excessive glucose, fructose consumption, so you kind of maintain your health that you already have. He says intermittent fasting would be good for somebody, say, to have more of a restorative effect, because fasting helps to trigger your growth hormone. It prompts the inducement of growth hormone, and that helps with both muscle growth and just cellular repair. It's one of several hormones, as he says, that are responsible for restoration. But the growth hormone is human growth hormone. I mean, our own growth hormone is the most powerful one, and that is triggered during fasting. So I'll just play just a segment of this.
I'm going to break down the benefits of each, the similarities of each, some of the differences of each, and then stick with me through the entirety of this video, because I'm going to give you a clear-cut plan on which diet or strategy is for you, depending on what time of day you work out, what type of job you have, and the type of person you are in general. But I'm going to give a basic rundown of the similarities between the two so that you understand exactly what we're looking at. So with ketosis, you're depriving your body of glucose so that you essentially run on fats as a source of fuel. In fasting, you're depriving your body of food for an extended period of time, so you're relying on fats as a source of fuel, except they're coming from the body. Well, both things have to do with insulin. And when it comes to weight loss, that's what we really have to look at. See, whenever we consume carbohydrates, we have an increase in what's called insulin. This increase in insulin turns off fat burning temporarily because the body goes into storing mode. It's trying to absorb food. Well, that only really happens if you're consuming carbohydrates. So on a ketogenic diet with high protein, high fat, well, you're not having this insulin spike. So your body's able to burn more fat because it's in the absence of insulin. Well, fasting works kind of the same way, except for the fact that you're not having insulin occurring simply because you're not eating. That's what it comes down to. So the simple mechanism of action within the body is actually quite similar. And the overall fat loss, the overall weight loss that occurs, believe it or not, can be relatively similar too. The next thing I want to look at is brain health and cognitive function, because this is very, very important when you're on any kind of lifestyle change. If people are trying to lose weight by calorie reduction, the last thing you want is to lose mental clarity. So let's take a look at the two different diets and compare them as far as our brains are concerned. First off, ketosis is shown to increase something that's called GABA. This stands for gamma-aminobutyric acid. And what GABA is something that promotes calmness. It helps us sleep. It's sort of the opposite of anxiety. So studies have now shown that ketosis equals more GABA, and GABA equals the opposite of anxiety and helps us feel more calm, which can therefore allow us to feel more cognitively aware, clearer, and get more work done when in a stressful environment. Then we have...
I just wanted to comment on GABA, is that from some experience I've had and friends that have been dealing with anxiety or depression, that GABA is just as a supplement by itself, it seems to be very effective to help you, say, relax and go to sleep. You can use melatonin, although melatonin seems to, some people react to it better than others. I haven't used it in a while, but you can take like a half a milligram, I think, of melatonin. I think it comes between 1 and 3 milligrams. And but GABA seems to have similar effects, and it seems like it's a more natural compound. And I don't think there's a time limitation on how long you can take GABA for versus melatonin. You're not supposed to take for more than a month or two at a time. So that's just a nice benefit, again, of ketosis, or if you cut out the carbohydrate. Carbohydrates can also help to increase serotonin, from my understanding, and that can also help you sleep better. So you may just want to keep doing your own research. Some people are better adapted to being in ketosis for maybe a longer period of time. And if you feel satiety, like if you're trying to lose weight, I would say a combination of ketosis and intermittent fasting, at least working on ketosis, will really transform your life, and you'll lose the weight. Check with your doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, right, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not a fitness professional. I'm just going off of my experience. So yeah, we'll continue here.
Ketosis and its effect on, of course, things like beta-hydroxybutyrate. When we are running on ketones for fuel, we're utilizing these amazing things called ketones. Ketones are things like beta-hydroxybutyrate, which are acting as amazing sources of fuel for our brain. You see, our brains actually function better on ketones than they do on glucose, believe it or not. Now, it does this through a couple of different ways. One, the ketones are able to cross through the blood-brain barrier and affect the brain in a positive way. But additionally, beta-hydroxybutyrate is shown to increase the amount of mitochondria in a cell.
Right.
The mitochondria is the energy powerhouse. It's what is involved with a cell to actually make energy. And when we have more energy powerhouses within a cell, the overall energy output increases. In fact, most neural disorders like Parkinson's end up resulting from a reduction in brain energy and brain mitochondria. So that shows one piece of the puzzle right then and there. But let's look at fasting and fasting's effect on.
Okay, so I just wanted to say too that what comes to mind when he also mentioned dementia, Alzheimer's, and again we talked about the walking, because that's also interesting how that showed up too, where they talked about the benefits of walking to reduce incidences or the severity of Alzheimer's, dementia, degenerative diseases, depression, etc. So my guess would be, if anyone watching is having challenges with any of those situations, you aren't moving enough, you're not breathing in a way that's supporting your mind's coherence, and enhancing your physiology, and you're probably eating more carbohydrates than you need. So simple, these three areas, get control of your breath, understand what your breath is doing, why it's so important. Start taking some cold showers. I've also, I think Mike Cernovich, Gorilla Mindset, he talks about how cold showers is something he would do, and also contrast showers, where you go between cold and hot. It has a thermogenic effect. It helps to also burn fat, and it also stimulates your brain. It's sort of like, oh my God, am I going to die? No, you're not going to die. You're just, your body's really awakening itself from inside. And then just doing the walking, starting off with something light, getting into maybe more, weight training. Let yourself rest. That was something I want to mention. You've got to let yourself rest in between, intense workouts. I usually wait till I'm no longer sore before I go and work out again. That's my gauge. I don't have set days of the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or da-da-da. I listen to my body, and I think that's just wise. And then eating in a way that helps to enhance your mental clarity, helps with the weight loss and anti-aging. Intermittent fasting, once you get used to it, especially if you can work out fasted, you will really burn. Your body will be metabolizing fat for fuel, as opposed to just burning the carbs, and it's just going to help your system lean itself out better, and you're just going to feel better. So yeah, and again, and I was going to say, for older MGTOW, anyone who's maybe gone through a divorce and you're dealing with way more stress than I can imagine, and than many of us could imagine, getting really tuned into your diet, your lifestyle, your breath is going to just enhance the next stage of the life as your life continues to progress. Because that mental disorder, and when men commit suicide, and I've known far too many men that have taken their lives or died early, and I know that one of those three, if not at least two of these three things, they weren't doing. They didn't understand how to breathe properly, how to calm themselves, how to center themselves. They weren't exercising, walking, just doing basic things, and they weren't eating properly. And one of them was my father, who got type 2 diabetes 2 years after he retired, and that was and then he had a heart attack because he had progressive heart failure, which we didn't know until later, and then he passed a few months after that. So that was really triggered for me my journey to really commit to wellness, and often most of us have to have some type of a trigger like that. So that did it for me. I also had some of my own health issues a few years ago, and that just reminded me that, yeah, I got to get serious about this. So I'll let you continue watching this keto video on your own. There's also this great link, which I will put the link in the description. I'm actually just going to copy and paste it right now, so I make sure to do that, which is at this website, Burn Fat Not Sugar, and it's a long PDF about intermittent fasting. You know, how do you do it, what the benefits are. So I haven't even watched all of it. It talks about insulin. So I think you're going to really find this really interesting and useful, hopefully. So you know, the human food diet. Now, one thing I wanted to also mention about like when I started to do like Atkins, which is really like high fat, high protein, that you can have too much fat, and you can sometimes get fatty liver, and or you can have high triglycerides, as well as your HDL protein, the marker for your for the cholesterol proteins that associated with the HDL cholesterol, high density lipoproteins, can go up. I mean, HDL you want to be up, but your LDL, and there's a small pattern and large pattern, and the small pattern is the one that usually comes from excessive carbohydrates, but the large pattern LDL, which is generally protective, but that can come from just having too much fat. So again, each person is going to have their own sensitivities. I recommend you get your blood work done. I mean, do it before you make any lifestyle changes. You want to get the breakdown of your cholesterol, you know, HDL, LDL, triglycerides, your HDL to triglyceride ratios, your glucose. Do your blood work, then make your lifestyle change, your diet change, and track it. Because as Peter Drucker, I believe, said, if you can't track it, you can't change it. You can't understand what the impact is. So, very important. I mean, we got to be data driven, right? That's important. So, all right, gentlemen, on to the next video.